Hello everyone. As you all are aware that in the last video we've started with the fourth unit, which is based on electronic communication, in which we started with the first topic, that is digital multimeter or DMM. So now we are starting with the next topic, that is function generator. So function generator is also one of the instrument which is generally required in electronics laboratory, and if you remember we have already used a function generator in our labs while performing experiments. So if you remember, what a function generator does is it generates different types of waveforms like a sine waveform or a triangular waveform or a square waveform. So why the name function generator? First of all, it's a generator, that is it generates these functions or these waveforms on its own. I mean, it does not require any external input to be applied to it. For example, the way you apply an external input signal to the CRO, similar kind of input signal need not be applied to a function generator. So you simply give power to it, you switch it on, and it can generate the required signal on its own. Hence, it's called as a generator. And because it can generate different types of functions like sine, square, or triangular, it's called as a function generator. Of course, as you remember that in a function generator we can change the amplitude and we can change the frequency also of each of the functions with the help of external controls. Right, so that's about a major introduction about function generator. Now, what exactly are we supposed to study under function generator? So the way we started in DMM, here also we are expected to study the overall working with the help of block diagram of a function generator, not the internal circuitry. But to study the block diagram of a function generator, there are certain things which you need to know before you start the block diagram. Yeah, so as I've mentioned here, these are the prerequisites needed, that is, these are the concepts which are needed for you people before you start understanding the block diagram of function generator. The first one is integrator, then the second one is voltage comparator, also called as multivibrator, also can be called as Smith trigger. Then the third prerequisite required is a resistance diode wave shaping circuit, which is also called as a sine shaping circuit here. And the fourth required concept for you people is a potential divider circuit. So once you understand these four concepts, it is only then it is possible for you to understand the block diagram of a function generator. So what we would be doing first is I would be introducing you people to each of these four concepts first, and then we we assemble all of them and we study the function generator later on. So let me start with the first concept, that is of an integrator. Okay, so integrator, let me just read it out to you. It simply gives output as integration of the input waveform. Of course, the name itself tells us that the integrator is the one which will give the output as an integration of something. Of course, it will give the output as an integration of the input signal. So by these waveforms, I guess you should be able to understand something. So to the integrator, if I give the input as a square wave, so the output that you obtain for an integrator will be a triangular wave, because this triangular waveform is an integration of the square waveform. So that's about the waveforms for integrator, input and output. Now let me show you this particular circuit. So this is the most frequently used circuit for an integrator. This circuit, if you can see, it majorly consists of op-amp, that is, the op-amp is the heart of the circuit. Each one of us has already studied what an op-amp is. So this is the feedback path, and in the feedback path you have a capacitor. Then to the inverting input terminal you have this resistor. To this resistor we've connected some source of voltage. Let that source of voltage be called as V input. And the non-inverting terminal is connected to ground. And of course on the right hand side, as you can see here, you have the output voltage. So what I mean to say is that if this is the circuit of an integrator, to the input side, if you apply this kind of a square waveform, then on the right hand side, that is on the output side, you will be getting this kind of a waveform, that is a triangular waveform. So let me not actually go into how exactly this works, but let me tell you that the waveform which you get at the output over here is majorly because of the charging and the discharging of this capacitor which is present in the feedback path. So it is as good as that if this capacitor finds a path for charging, the voltage across the capacitor starts increasing, which means the output voltage also starts increasing. Hence you get this kind of an ascending slope. Whereas if the capacitor doesn't have any path for charging, obviously it has to start discharging through some of the component, and when the capacitor discharges, the voltage across the capacitor reduces. In short, the voltage at the output also reduces, which can be shown by this particular line. That is, you have a descending slope when the capacitor is discharging. So it is because of the charging of the capacitor you get an ascending slope, and it is because of the discharging of the capacitor that you get a descending slope. So when you combine them together, obviously what you can see is that you get a triangular waveform, and you are obtaining a triangular waveform when you apply the input to it as a square waveform. So that's about, in short, working of our integrator. So let's move on to the next prerequisite. Let me take you back to the prerequisites I had mentioned here. So integrator is done. Now the second one is voltage comparator. Okay. So this is the voltage comparator, which can also be called as a multivibrator. It can also be called as a Schmitt trigger. Now each one of, all of them are, I won't say they are the same, but yes, they are definitely similar to each other with a few differences. So I will let you know the differences between them as per the requirement. Okay, so what I've mentioned here is a frequently used comparator. So this circuit is the circuit of a frequently used comparator. Here also, as you can see, op-amp is used. So op-amp can be used as a voltage comparator. There are two inputs, as you know, inverting input of op-amp and the non-inverting input of op-amp. Inverting input of op-amp पे you are applying some voltage. Let that voltage be called as input voltage. And to the non-inverting input of op-amp you are applying some voltage. Let that be called as reference voltage. And then of course on the right hand side you have this output voltage. Okay, so the name tells you, because it is a voltage comparator, what is it going to do? It is going to compare two voltages. So which two voltages will be compared? Of course, the input voltage and the reference voltage. These two voltages will be compared, and depending on the relation between them, the output voltage is obtained. So as you can see, I have drawn this waveform over here for the output voltage. I could not have drawn any other waveform. The reason is that in a comparator, the output voltage can take only two possible conditions. One is either high logic and the other one is low logic. So output voltage can either switch between high logic and low logic, and there is no other possible combination for output voltage. The output voltage mein you will get either a square waveform or you may get a rectangular waveform depending on the comparison between V input and V reference. So let me just read through whatever is mentioned here. Here in the output, only two possible conditions, high or low, but output condition depends on V input compared with V reference. That's what I mentioned just now. Okay, hence the name comparator. Yeah, why comparator? Because we're comparing V input and V reference and then the output is decided. So it's called as a voltage comparator. Okay, now how about the working of this circuit? Working in the sense, of course, I won't be going much in depth of the working, but these two things you need to know. That is, first equation mein you check whether V input is less than V reference. So if V input is less than V reference, where is it? It's here. So if V input is less than V reference, then what? Then output voltage is high. And second condition is just vice versa. That is, if V input is greater than V reference, then output voltage is low. So depending on the input voltage in comparison to reference voltage, your output voltage is either high or it is low. So to understand that, I have drawn these waveforms for you people. Please understand that this waveform which I have shown at the top is a sine waveform, which is the input waveform. I have shown it here. See, So this is the input waveform, and the waveform which I've drawn below it is the output waveform. Okay, but then as you people know that to draw the output voltage ka waveform, I need to compare the input voltage with the reference voltage. So because I'm going to compare input with reference voltage, let me tell you, this reference voltage, we are going to keep it constant. We are not going to vary the reference voltage. Because we are going to keep it constant, obviously V reference will be applied with DC voltage. And because V input varies every time, let that be an AC voltage. So if I look at the waveforms again, you will understand that this sine waveform, which is variable or an AC quantity, is the input waveform. But this input needs to be compared with some reference voltage. So as you can see, I have shown the reference voltage over here. So this horizontal line, this dotted horizontal line, is the line for a DC voltage, which is well above the 0 ka axis. So it is this constant DC voltage which is called as the reference voltage. So what am I expected to do? I am expected to compare the sine waveform along with this straight horizontal line. In short, I am expected to compare the input voltage along with the reference voltage, and it is only then we should be able to draw the output voltage ka waveform. Now because I had no option, I have already drawn the output voltage waveform for you people. But let me explain how I have drawn it. Okay, so to draw the output voltage ka waveform, what I do is, jahan pe you have an intersection of this horizontal line with the sine waveform, I mark all those intersection points. So if you can see, this is the first intersection point of sine and the reference waveform. So I mark it as intersection point number 1. Yahan pe this is the second intersection point, so I have marked it as 2. Similarly, the third intersection point here and the fourth intersection point here. Then what do I do? From this intersection point, I take down a vertical line which becomes my reference line till here. Then from the second intersection point, I take down a reference line over here. From the third one, I take the reference line over here. And from the fourth one, I take down a reference line over here. These reference lines are going to help me to draw my voltage, output voltage ka waveform. Okay, so let me start drawing my output voltage ka waveform. To start drawing, I obviously have to start drawing from 0, that is from this 0. So to start drawing from 0, I have to start comparing input and reference. So I compare from 0 to the intersection point number 1. I ask the same question. Is V input less than or greater than reference voltage? So from 0 to 1, if you can see this much waveform, is it below or above the reference voltage? It is below the reference voltage, which means V input is less than V reference. Now, as per this equation, if V input is less than V reference, output voltage should be high. So, because from 0 to 1, V input is less than V reference, my output voltage should be high. Hence, if this is 0, the high logic is here. So, from 0 to 1, I have shown high logic for output voltage. So, it remains high from 0 to 1, constant. Okay. Then I need to draw the waveform after 1. From 1 to where? Till the next intersection point. So, from 1 to 2, this is the waveform. What do I need to do? I need to compare the sine waveform with the reference voltage, that is this DC line. So I ask the same question. Is V input less than or greater than V reference? So obviously, because this is above the reference voltage, I would say V input is greater than V reference. Now, if V input is greater than V reference, V output has to go low. So which means it is only immediately after the intersection point number 1 that V input is trying to go above the reference voltage. Hence output voltage goes back to low logic and it remains low till where? Till the next intersection point, that is till this point, and this point is intersection point number 2. Okay. Then after intersection point number 2, I start comparing yahan wala waveform till where? Till the next intersection point, that is from 2 to 3, I need to compare this waveform with the reference voltage. Is it more or less? Of course it's less. And because V input is less than this reference voltage, output has to go high. So output which was low here goes to high logic and it remains high till the next intersection point, that is intersection point number 3. And in this way you are expected to draw the waveform for the output voltage. So which means that in a comparator I am showing the input as a sine waveform which is compared with a DC voltage, that is reference voltage, and I am getting the output as a rectangular waveform. So it is as good as that the sine waveform is getting converted into a rectangular waveform with the help of a voltage comparator. Right, so this is all about voltage comparator. For the next part we continue in the next video.